Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Could we have a moment of silence? Okay, comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Clint Jane. I am principal and managing partner of Madras Development. Wanted to introduce myself this evening as the person who is behind the renovation at 2019 Iron Street, big 3-story White House on the corner. I was not able to attend the last city council meeting in which this body approved a CMR for the benefit of that property. And I know that I watched on the website and noticed that there were certainly questions about the project from the city council members. So I wanted to come and introduce myself, introduce my firm, and if I could, answer any questions if you guys had any. I'd like to take just a moment to review a little bit of what Madras Development has done in North Kansas City over the course of the last year and a few months, year and a half. March 31st of last year, we purchased 5 properties, 4 of which were on 21st Avenue, 1 on Gentry. We began renovations in May of 2016. During that time, or since that time, I renovated 4 different duplexes, 8 living units. One of the living units had a gentleman who'd lived in the basement for over 20 years. And I was really glad to be able to move him above ground into one of the newly renovated units. We've replaced 3 full roofs. We've replaced put in new energy efficient windows, new efficient HVAC systems. We've rebuilt 3 porches and a deck, landscape improvements to all of the improved properties, have removed countless dumpsters, trash, and debris from those renovated properties. I've invested well over $500,000 in acquisition and renovations and are now receiving market-based rents in those renovated properties. If I could just I brought a little show and tell. So you can see, this is a before. This is actually 821 East 21st Avenue. This is an after. May not be dramatically different. Paint color's different, but it's cleaner. We've landscaped it. You guys probably haven't seen that. This is 2017 Iron Street. Rosemary Jenkins owned this property. Some of you may know Rosemary. It's a before. This is an after. Some of you, I'm sure, have seen the progress we made on this project. We're now working on the little converted garage in Bahac, and it's really going to be great. An opportunity to see some of the inside. This is the kitchen that is in Rosemary's.
Wow.
So we don't just throw up contractor grade material. We really try and incorporate some design into that. The bathroom from 821 on the west side. You're going to find that in a lot of the properties. And so, folks, here we are at 2019 Iron Street. You guys know this. You all know this property. It's been an eyesore for 3 years. It's been condemned for 3 years on that property. I've already invested about $15,000 in demolition, more in architectural fees, survey fees, had some foundation work done today. There will be more that we need to address with that particular property. I'm working with Sarah and the development group, the development office, and I'm grateful for their guidance and their help in this process. We do have some more issues that we're going to have to address. Parking is one of those. There's a square footage issue. I'm sure we have some other things that we'll need to address. But I thought it was important that you understand the work we've already done, the work we're trying to get accomplished. And I thank you for your time. If you have any questions about the 2019 project, I'd be happy to answer those questions. I know parking is going to be an issue, but we have that resolved as it relates. And I'll give you that answer, which is there is a large parking lot next to 2017, which was Rosemary's. That large parking lot, I'm going to sign, what's it called, Sarah? Parking agreement. It's pretty simple. A parking agreement and provide parking for 2019. So there'll be plenty of off-street. I didn't want to pave the yard that's behind that property. Density's pretty stout on East 21st Avenue, so I'm trying to preserve that yard so that we can improve that and do some landscaping. With that, I'll say thank you and answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Just a couple. I've been watching and I appreciate what you're doing. You know, that house, like you said, been an eyesore for a long time. And your improvements to the other houses are really nice.
Thank you.
You know, I've seen those houses. I do have a question. You own the garage back there that's an apartment now?
Yes, sir.
Is it going to stay an apartment?
Yes, sir, it is.
I'm not really in favor of garages being in apartments, but I know it's I guess it's grandfathered.
It is grandfathered in the nonconformity, and I will tell you that we have virtually rebuilt that. There are new studs. We took all the siding down, put up OSB, Tyvek. The roof had already been replaced. We just poured a 2-inch concrete cap on the floor. It's going to be a very nice unit.
And are you going to have a basement apartment in the?
No.
Okay.
I don't do basement apartments.
Well, I have problems with that.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You know, been on the fire department. There's been many fires in the basements with apartments, and one way out. And invariably, the bedroom will be at the far end, and the source of the fire, usually a kitchen, or
Yeah.
the furnace, it's at the other end.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess you're going to have storage for your people, maybe.
Yeah, there'll
or-
be available storage for
Yeah.
all the residents, and I'll do common laundry as well.
Oh.
So we'll try and create some secure storage so each living unit could have secured storage within the basement. And then most of the mechanical will be there. But I'm going to put all the electrical boxes, all the breaker boxes will be in the individual units, so they'll have easy access to them.
And I don't know, it's not so much a question for you, I guess, but I did get a call from a resident in Ward 3 who watches our council meetings on TV. And I had to get with Dave Harris, I think, I emailed him, answer his question. And I suppose it's a new code about the off-street parking. But his concern was, well, it's only going to be how many apartments in there?
4.
4, why can't they park on the street like everybody else? And I only assume that when you call it an apartment, if that rule was not followed or a substitute, then a bigger apartment could do the same thing, I guess. Is that right, Sarah? Or?
Right, so 2019 Iron is in our R4 zoning district, which requires the property owner to provide off-street parking. I mean, the residents can certainly park on the street just like any other member of the public, but the property owner is required to provide off-street parking.
Okay. And that's kind of what I told him, I think. No, I called him and he didn't answer. I didn't tell him nothing yet. Maybe he's watching this. But anyway, I do appreciate what you're doing to these old houses, with these old houses.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what made you choose to come to Northtown to do some renovating?
You know, there's so much hidden value in North Kansas City, and it's just this fabulous island that exists kind of beyond, I think, the knowledge of the greater community. With the excitement of One North, and certainly I would say the renovation of Power and Light and what's happened in downtown Kansas City, if you really think about, I think the tagline is wonderful. of North Kansas City, and I'm not going to be able to recite it, about being supremely suburban.
Virtually urban, supremely suburban.
Thank you. Bailed me out. But the beauty is that it's the closest suburban environment to downtown, so that proximity, the location, the neighborhood, it's a fabulous community. Before I started doing this, I renovated historic buildings for affordable housing and for seniors and for workforce housing within different communities in different states. And I do have a particular love for the historic aspects. I would rather renovate the existing structure, bring it to code, stabilize the structure, upgrade the wiring, put in new plumbing, put in HVAC, make it what it should be as opposed to tear it down and build something new. That maintains the integrity of the neighborhood. And that's really what my firm is trying to do, is kind of reweave that neighborhood fabric, if you will.
So the properties that you have here in North Kansas City now, do you plan on purchasing more?
Well, they're at a premium, and there are fewer than I would, well, that's probably not accurate to say. There are some that come along. The short answer is yes, I would love to purchase more as we go along, because I'm going to bring the same mentality, the same work ethic to the work that we do.
I missed the name of your company again.
It's called Madras Development, M-A-D-R-A-S, Madras.
And so does Madras then own the property, or do you yourself?
Madras, the firm does.
And then this is going to be a shocker, but how would you feel if that neighborhood that you just purchased properties in was blighted?
That's why I purchased those properties, because in my opinion, my humble opinion, it was blighted. And so there was an opportunity to really reverse the direction of that particular street, that neighborhood. I think if we did some research with the police department and we looked at the number of calls that have happened in the last 6 months as opposed to the prior 6 months, or this last year against the previous year, I think you'd see a significant reduction. Now, that's not just because of what Madras Development has done, although I think we've been a catalyst. I think the work that we've done has helped other owners see value that perhaps they didn't see previously. And now, I'm pleased to say, Kent McCall, I don't know the gentleman's name that is on the north side near the east end of that block. He owns the little shop, the little,
Yeah.
he has, yeah, the little store. He has a number of rental properties. He's improved those and painted those. I know the folks that have purchased, I think it's 205, the two-story, 4-unit building that is behind 2019, that's really on East 21st. It's gray with white trim, looks very much like Rosemary's, like the 2017 Iron Street. And they're really committed to improving the neighborhood as well. So, not to go on, and I apologize for that, but I think that was the decision, is it was blighted, and I knew that we could have a really positive effect.
So I guess the question I have is, I guess just think about this. How would you feel if your neighborhood that you purchased homes in recently ended up being blighted after you've already renovated? So that's just something to think about.
I appreciate that. I think part of the balance to that, to the danger or the fear of a blighted scenario, is that not just improvement of the physical property, but now you have an economic element as well, because these are market rents. I'm not giving these away for $300 or $400 a month. We're charging $725, $750 a month for these units, and so that brings, economically, you're at a different level, at a different strata, and I think that that's part of the insurance, if you will, against the possibility of blight.
Agreed. Thank you.
I just want to take a very simplistic comment to this whole thing, is anytime property is upgraded, it's a good thing. I really feel strongly that when property begins to look nice and that things are changing, it changes the whole complexion and attitude of the people around it and the people that might want to move in. There's an old, you've probably heard it, the broken window theory. When a house down the block has a broken window, pretty soon, everything starts to slide down. And so I commend you for the effort that you've put into this project.
sir.
And I think it's good for North Kansas City to see things like that after many years of sometimes property not being as kept as well as it should be.
Thank you, sir. I
You're welcome.
appreciate
I think we ought to hire him. Anything
that.
else?
Any other questions? Thank you for your time. I appreciate it very
Thank you.
much.
Nice to meet you, thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, let's move on. Kind of consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda be approved as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number 9.
Number 9, public hearing, establishment of North Kansas City Destination Developers Community Improvement District. Bill number 7245, ordinance number 9042.
Open a public hearing.
Yes, sir, you can do that, and then I'd suggest that we have a staff report immediately following, followed by any public comment there might be.
Okay.
So are you calling the public hearing open?
What would you rather do? Public hearing?
Sure.
Okay.
And at this point, then, I would ask the city councilor, Tom Barzee, to present a staff report.
Do we have any public? Okay.
Maybe I go ahead, I could speak, Mayor, first, and if someone wants to
Yeah,
comment
okay.
after that, I think that still would be fine, so that everyone knows what we're talking about. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, before you this evening is an ordinance that, if approved by the council after the public hearing, if approved, it would create a community improvement district within the area that we now call 1 North, the Armour Road redevelopment area that we had previously called it. On October the 18th, a petition for the establishment of the North Kansas City Destination Developers Community Improvement District was duly filed with the city clerk by 2 of the 3, and it was signed by 2 of the 3 property owners that are located within this area, and they own more than half of it by value as well. And it meets the requirements for the creation of a community improvement district. I think that, and then these funds would obviously be used for those things that are approved by state law. The CID, Community Improvement Development Act, they would be used within that district for anything from public facilities and infrastructure to other things such as parking areas, and there's a long list of things, and I'm not going to try to go over everything that the funds could be used for, but those funds would be generated purely from within the Community Improvement District. That would include the entire area down there, excluding the area where the Mayarado Jewelry Store is not in this district, and also where the Burger King will relocate to, the new location of the Burger King on the far east end of this overall redevelopment project. Those are excluded. The rest of the property there is included, probably 60 or so acres or close to it would be included within this community improvement district. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I think the ordinance that before you spells out all of the things that are necessary. As you know, you've already approved the board of directors that was appointed by the mayor with the approval of the council. And so I think everything is in line for the creation of this, absent the public hearing itself, and then subsequently, assuming you're so inclined, the passage of the ordinance creating then this district and accepting the establishment of the district and accepting the petition that has been filed.
Anita? please.
Okay, in the petition number 10, the sales tax, qualified voters of the district may be asked to approve a sales tax of up to 1%. Can you tell me who the qualified voters of that district are?
One of you gentlemen that probably know more about the details of it, but the statute allows, because, you know, there's no one that actually lives, anyone that lives there, but the property owners can have representatives. I think that's the way it goes. But Mark, Mr. Abbott, who represents the developer with the Polsinelli Law Firm.
Hi, Mark Abbott with Polsinelli, representative of counsel for Rick Warner, North Kansas City Destination Developers. If there are no registered voters residing within a community improvement district, then the eligible voters are the property owners. In this case, if they're entities, LLCs, or corporations, it's representatives of those property owners. But if there are no registered voters, no people residing in the district, then it's the property owners themselves.
So they can approve a sales tax of only a maximum of 1%, is that the deal?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, 1%, and that is the statutory max too, that it cannot go above that.
Thank you, I was just curious who the voters were.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Well, what is the difference of this and a CDI? Of, you know, commercial industrial development?
A TDI?
CDI,
Oh.
or,
Is
I'm
it the
not-
IDA formed last?
The
I'm not-
IDA?
Are you speaking of, yeah, we're not familiar with the CDI, sir.
oh, well, it's when the group puts a tax on themselves for the development. That sounds like what this is.
Yes, sir, it is.
What this is.
Oh, I thought there was a different name for it. Oh,
No, sir.
okay.
Community Improvement District, CID.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Anita?
Okay. I did my research this time, sorry. Okay, I can't find it now. Okay, terms. The directors are gonna serve 4-year terms. I did notice that Dawn and Eric are only gonna do, and Steve are gonna do 2 years. So, how are we working that, I guess?
That's just done by statute. It's just, there's like staggered terms or whatever. I think it is the way it is.
Correct, the board of directors, they do start out staggered, so they're not all turning over at the same time. This CID is part of the master development agreement and the financing plan that the council has already approved that's in place to provide some of the financing for the project. I'm anticipating that there will be a development agreement between North Kansas City Destination Developers and the CID, and that development agreement will spell out that the city, who has essentially two representatives on the board, will continue to be able to nominate two representatives to be on the board of the CID. So they do turn over, yes, in 2 years, but I'm anticipating the development agreement will contain that provision, and there'll be continued city representation on the board.
Okay, so the city is gonna be 2-year term, and then the other directors are gonna be 4-year term?
Well, after 2 years, then the terms then after that are 4 years. So they're staggered, but they're
Got it.
4-year terms after the initial 2-year period.
I'm sorry, that was just a little bit confusing, so, thank you.
First reading?
Don't we have to close the?
No, yeah, we need to.
We need to now actually probably have the public hearing.
Now, do we have any public comment? Hearing none. I guess close the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
First reading?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance approving a petition for the establishment and creation of a community improvement district, establishing the North Kansas City Destination Developers Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, and directing the city clerk to notify the Missouri Department of Economic Development of the creation of the district.
I move that bill number 7245 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9042.
Second?
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance approving a petition for the establishment and creation of a community improvement district, establishing the North Kansas City Destination Developers Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, and directing the city clerk to notify the Missouri Department of Economic Development of the creation of the district. Number 10, PAR Electrical Contractors request for abatement of fees.
Eric?
Thanks, sir. PAR Electrical Contractors is considering locating a new office building in the parking lot that belongs to Northtown Devco, located at 18th and Howell. PAR has submitted a letter, which is in your packet, requesting 100% abatement of the city's permit fees for its prospective building. In its memo, staff reviews the request. We do recommend against granting the abatement. At this time, I would suggest that you invite PAR to present their request to you, after which I'd like to make some additional comments.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Paul Warning, PAR Electrical Contractors. It's been a pretty interesting journey here for us for the last about 7-8 months. My goal as the real estate manager for PAR was to establish at least 3 locations for PAR to relocate to. City of Riverside, City of Gladstone, and the City of North Kansas City were all in that realm of Spear. City of Riverside, we weren't able to come to any final terms and stuff with them, so we're down to City of Gladstone, City of North Kansas City. My goal has been to establish what I call equality of what my people are looking at as far as what amenities, what pricing being, I guess is probably a simplistic term of as far as fees and tax abatements and things such as that and whatever. In other words, we wanted it to kind of come down to a choice of location. So I'm here with one request here. The city's already worked with us on tax abatement through Chapter 100 bonds. I'm sure that'll be spelled out in a developmental form that them and NT Realty will go through. But at the end, one of the things that we were asking for are fee developments. And I think when we look at that, I think, you know, part of what we came here for was to originally, believe it or not, we actually came to go to one of the warehouse districts. And when I first came to staff, I go, you know, you have all these cool warehouses. I had Clockwork, you know, I go, you know, we kind of like to bulldoze one of those, do a little bit of things and whatever. And staff really didn't want to go that route at that time. And I'm going to come back to that as far as spot zoning. We actually then had NT Realty. We had talked to them on their site, and we brought that. I think it's a great development site. I think it's a highly underutilized site. I think it's a site just sitting there. And I think of the people who just spoke, I think that the people who are refurbing stuff and around, and plus, you know, other vendors, plus other restaurants and stuff, would be excited to have that many corporate people come. We furnished a copy of payroll to staff. I think our payrolls, you're talking bringing a corporate staff of a part of a Fortune 500, S&P 500 company. So we're looking at, you know, there's some risk coming here. I think Anita mentioned, well, what about Blight or what about this? We're at 18th and Howell. You guys were just talking 20th and Iron. We feel there's risk. I've talked to the mayor briefly about some of this stuff. As far as, you know, Mayor, you're going to rehab this stuff. You're going to keep the ball rolling. We're going with you guys that you're going to keep it rolling. But then I get into some things like I got KC Fiber here. And I said, you know, Brooks, I said, would you look at some out-of-the-box things for us, things you haven't done? And he goes, yeah, Paul, we'll look at them and come on by and we'll do. And when I left, he says, you know, we think we can do business, but this is going to require some upfront money. Kind of, you know, I think Richard Lanning here is with me tonight. When I go outside tonight, I think he's going to twist my arm and say, you know, Paul, we need a little bit more upfront money. We need to move ahead. We need to do this. So a lot of people have been talking to me going, why are you really wanting that, whatever? We're trying to get you on an equal playing field with Gladstone. You guys didn't meet on taxes. We are trying to get here on this. We don't think it's that much money. I don't think we're asking you to hire staff, to add a bunch of people. I think it's staff you probably already have. So we're trying to make this a simplistic comparison, try to make the decision, and by the way, make the decision this week. That's probably the big difference right now. We need to go, we need to move forward. I could give you a lot of stuff, I could tell you a lot of things, but the one thing I did want to show you, if y'all are familiar with Lee Summit, this is our Home Depot in Lee Summit. If you highway patrol and you're going, well, why are you bringing that? When my wife and I purchased this property, this is what it looked like. This is the curve, this is Home Depot, this is all the small businesses we had to deal with. We had to get, I understand, inner city development because I had to deal with all these people. My wife and I were the largest landowners. It took a lot of commitment from me, my wife, the city to tell everybody, yeah, beat me up a little bit more, beat me up a little bit more. But if you want to have the big picture, if you want us here, you want to get that, this is kind of what it takes. And it takes money. It really does. So that's really what I have to say. Questions?
I don't know if this is premature, but if you're, I understand that, you know, you're looking at two different spots, Gladstone and
Yes.
North Kansas City. I think you mentioned the KC Fiber. I don't know that that would be available to you in Gladstone as far as getting the bandwidth that you may need. And I'm kind of on the fence on this one. If we did get you the abatement, I mean, as far as the fees, is that a done deal then? Are you going to come to North Kansas City? Can you answer that question?
I can tell you this right now, it would make a huge difference. Trying to get equality between the deals has been my hardest thing, and that's what I'm looking for, equality of the deal. And I'm telling you, we've been here since 1968 to 2002, since we left. There's a lot of sentiment with a lot of us older people who were here, who look at this kind of as coming home, and we look at that kind of as one of those deals. We know we're coming home to the inner city. We think, as the mayor said, he said, you know, when he called me last time, he said, Paul, if we could get something to the inner city, we think it could be a boost to the inner city. That's all he said. And I said, you know, I think the inner city deserves us, and I think PAR deserves the inner city there. So
200 employees you're looking at bringing? Is that
actually, at this current time right now, I think it's, you have payroll and that, and I think it's around 110. We're looking at going to 200, and that's part of the reason of the new building.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Do we want to have Eric give his presentation and then have follow-up questions, I think?
Sure.
If that's council's pleasure, sure. First of all, Mr. Warning, you made note of, you indicated conversations you had with staff about other locations in North Kansas City. Staff is not aware of those conversations that you've alluded to. We don't have any recollection of that.
Okay.
So we're confused by that comment.
Yeah.
As stated in the staff memo, we do recommend against granting this abatement. We do perform many services for a building of this magnitude, comparable. Mayorado, we're just completing. We've done about 160 inspections of that building, so it'll probably be something similar for this one if they do decide to come. This is not something the city has ever done in recent memory. Mr. Barzee tells me that maybe way back when council considered every building permit, council may have granted some, but this hasn't been done in over a decade, probably a lot longer than that. It hasn't been done for very large projects, North Kansas City Hospital, North Kansas City High School project, which is going on right now. Mayorado Jewelers, Cerner Corporation has not received building permit abatement, nor have other projects which are receiving abatement, including 1411 Quebec, Metro Park Warehouses, and 1600 Warren, North American Safety Valve. We would also point out, as Mr. Warning has noted, that PAR has negotiated for future submittal to the City Council what staff regards as very substantial property tax abatement, regardless of what other competitors may have supposedly offered. We have offered as much as has been ever granted by the city for anyone. We would also note that PAR has requested infrastructure improvements in the area that they are proposing to locate in. They asked for sidewalk improvements. We put in this year's budget, and the council approved $96,000 worth of sidewalk improvements, and the city is also committed to streetlight improvements and to landscaping improvements around the perimeter of the site. So from staff's view, the city has offered a great deal as incentive to PAR to locate here, and we do recommend against taking this step, which we believe would be setting a very bad precedent.
Anita?
Can you tell me, I'm not familiar with PAR Electrical Contractor. What is it that you guys do?
We basically work for the utility industry. Kansas City Power and Light was our first client. We've been here since 1954 in Kansas City. We work coast to coast now. We're, in some realms, the largest that does things like helicopter work, some of the higher tech work that you've seen. Yes. And, I'm a little disappointed. I think Sarah might remember of talking about of not wanting to do spot zoning. The reason why I bring up spot zoning is, and I tore the sheet off there just a little bit early, I requested in my industrial subdivision a daycare. Blew the city of Lee Summit away. There's a daycare that's been there for 17 years, the most successful daycare in Lee Summit. So again, some of these spot zoning, some of these things that a lot of people haven't done are doable. You've got to look at this. You've got to look big picture. Putting a $7 million building downtown here by the area, like you guys just said, that this guy 3 blocks away is happy that crime's down. I'm having confidence that it's all going to happen. It's going to happen just like what I just showed you, but we all got to come together and say it's going to cost money, and I'm good with that.
Okay, so it's between us and Gladstone.
Pardon?
It's between us, Northtown and Gladstone.
Yes, ma'am.
You're looking to relocate.
Two sides.
your
Two
home.
sides.
Okay, and then so it kind of sounds like a bidding war, maybe a little bit.
Not that much.
Okay.
No.
And then is compromise, like, okay, I see that you're wanting everything to be abated. I don't know the rules. What if we could just abate a few of them instead of all of them? That's just an idea that I have. But it sounds to me like if we can get you here for less money than Gladstone, then you're going to pick here. And I don't know what Gladstone is doing, but anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Gladstone's willing to do 23 years in full tax abatement right off the bat. I could go on down the list, but yes, they're much more aggressive, and that's why we're back here. We're back here because a lot of us really want to kind of, I mean, it's not trying to be hokey, but yeah, we kind of grew up down here and we're willing to come back.
So if we don't do this a tax abatement, you're not coming here?
I'm not going to say that. Actually, my job is to put together the deals, go back tomorrow and say, here we are, we're
Okay.
done. We finished with Gladstone, and we're down to you guys as far as, this is the one thing that we wanted to bring back up.
Okay.
Rick?
You made this comment that it's not much money, so it's not much money for your company either. These fees help pay for our employees.
Absolutely.
And we'll never be able to collect that again if we do it once. I mean, I'd love to have PAR Electric here. I remember when PAR had a building down on Iron, back in the 70s at least, I think.
16th and Iron from 80, it was from 78 to 2002. Or 68, 2002.
And to me, it's just asking too much.
Richard, here's the deal. You're bringing a high-rise building to a building that you all just talked about being blighted, and he's fixing up stuff down here. We're not doing a normal deal here. This is not normal. This is out of the box. This is out of the box thinking. And here's what I would challenge you to tell anybody else who comes down here. Come on down to our inner city, do this, and we'll work with you. But come to the inner city. Don't go out in the edge of the town. Don't go out there. Come to downtown here and get some. That's the way I feel.
But we'll be setting a standard of not collecting for our permit fees.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, I think that, we haven't done it for Cerner. We didn't do it from Roadies. We didn't do it for the school. Being fair and consistent.
Who of those are downtown?
Well,
None of them.
Richard?
Come on.
I'd just like to say a couple of things here. And first of all, Staff has done a great job with working with PAR and working with our office. And we really appreciate the cooperation of the City Council on the tax abatement. But you have to understand, I've been here for 20 years, and the downtown has struggled. And all the deals that you've talked about, Cerner and the hospital and the new development, that's all on the east side of I-35. There hasn't been any new development downtown. And you have to change that. And you might have to grant some of this abatement on fees to get that big fish down here. Because I think that is going to reignite everything. I mean, we're on a roll right now in North Kansas City. We're seeing a resurgence in activity. But this right here, if you do this and make this deal, that's going to make the downtown. And that's what our tenants want. They really want that buying power, more people. It'll generate more demand for multifamily development. So I really think this is a big deal to consider. That's what I got to say.
Let me ask a question, though. So where you would be getting the abatement, correct?
Pardon me?
You would be the one getting the abatement on the building fees.
The tax
'Cause,
abatement?
yeah, you would be building the building.
You
own
would
the building.
actually own the building, you would lease it to me or our company, and we would sublease it to PAR. So
So
that
if-
abatement would be passed on to PAR.
So if we don't pass this, you wouldn't be willing to waive that fee for him.
We might be talking about
So
two
it's
different
still-
things now. Tonight,
Yeah,
what's
you're-
before
you're-
you tonight
you're talking
are
about-
building permit fees,
Okay.
which I believe PAR Electrical would pay. The property tax abatement, which if they come, will be coming to you for formal consideration, would be to NT Realty and would be, as Mr. Lanning says, passed on to PAR Electrical.
Yeah, I mean, we have those fees in our pro forma right now, but if you waive those fees, then we take them out of their cost, and it reduces their rent.
I completely disagree with him. I believe Northtown is growing, and whether they come here or not, companies are going to want to come here. And we're only just beginning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's good.
My gut instinct is to trust staff's work. They've not failed us over quite a while, and they've put in the time and the effort on it. And I can just kind of sense that they would be disappointed in the efforts that they've put in. I really trust what they've put together, and I think that we should probably follow their thought patterns.
I just didn't want to have an overall negative tone. I mean, I am very excited about the project. There's a lot of great things that come out of this. I'm just not going to be in, I can't be in favor of waiving the fees. That's just.
Call for the vote.
I guess, I don't know if the motion that staff would request would be a motion to deny the request.
Okay, we ready to call for the vote?
You do need a motion and a second, I believe.
Off motion.
You make a motion?
Yep, I do.
Got a second?
Second.
Just for the record, what is the motion, ma'am?
We deny.
Okay.
Yeah, motion to deny.
Who seconded?
Second.
Brian did.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
You got to call a roll.
Call
Why don't
a
you
roll.
Call a roll.
Councilmember Stewart,
How's that worded? So I didn't know,
it's saying that you're going to deny the request.
yes.
Councilmember Steffen,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong.
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger.
No.
It passes. 6-1 or 6-1. Number 11, North Kansas City Historical Society caboose refurbishment and repurposing.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. The mayor has received requests from the North Kansas City Historical Society to allow for and work with the society to use, improve, and repurpose the railroad caboose located at Caboose Park in North Kansas City. Council input is sought on the society's request. At this time, we're understanding this is just trying to get your initial idea about whether this is something you would be amenable to, and if so, if you do indicate that you are, then staff would work with the Historical Society to develop a plan of action to bring to you at a later time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One more, one more. Give one to Rick.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Jim Spawn from the North Kansas City Historical Society. Compared to the buildings that you've been talking about earlier, our 710 square feet is a little more milder. Under our umbrella, the North Kansas City Historical Society is charged with preserving the history of our community, and we take it quite seriously. Somebody brought to our attention the caboose that's located in Caboose Park, and what about it? And most people know it's there. Most of you have probably never been in it, and neither had I. So we arranged for a key to take a look and say, what is the state of affairs over there for the caboose? I don't know when it came here, or I assume it was never used, because when you open the door and walk in there, it looks like they left yesterday. There's still a pillow on one of the cots. I mean, they just walked out and were gone. So it's been sitting there unused all this time. And I compiled some pictures to give you an overview of what it looks like both inside. The caboose was built in June of 1962, so that's the age of the property that we're dealing with. And you can see on the first two pictures are the exterior views. For some reason, the railroad people decided to weld up the windows. And I don't know what the reason was, but there's hundreds of them that have welded up windows. They must have had a good reason, either that or they just didn't like the sunlight, I don't know. Inside, you can see in item number 4 there how it looks from what they call a cupola in the middle that provides some sunlight. There's very little sunlight in here because they welded up all the windows. You can see number 6, the panel box there is just hanging there. There's no electricity in the building. Number 7 is one of many broken windows that are in there. Number 8, they didn't cover up the chimney for the stove, and you can see what happened there with the water coming in. Number 10 is a picture I found on the internet of this same caboose. It was taken in Seattle before it ever got here. And you can see the windows were in place back then, and this is kind of what it looked like about the time it came here. A lot of communities have cabooses. They can be used and repurposed for all kinds of small projects and things of that nature. You see here one community that's restoring their caboose, posting pictures of the progress that goes along. And of course, it doesn't say it on here, but I imagine they're probably trying to do some fundraising to make that all happen. The last page shows some remodeling that's been done in these cabooses. So you can see that they can be brought back to very, very clean and efficient use. They have hardwood floors in there that can be brought back. And some of the shelving, closets or whatever can be removed to make a larger space. So what I wanted to tell you is that you have a group here that's interested in helping to make sure that we stabilize this. We're interested in providing free labor, guidance, or whatever you want to do to make sure that this thing doesn't just become blighted and take that route too. So anyway, we would be glad to answer any questions you may have, and if not, we're just looking forward to having some communication with the city to decide where do we go from here with the caboose.
Yeah.
Nobody else does. Well, thank you for coming here. I've been to that caboose. I don't know that I've been in it. Are you going to be, if you do the project, are you going to be looking for some financial assistance from the city as well?
I think we're open to just about anything. A lot of what we envision can be done either through donations Or Bill Skaggs is a member of our organization here. He's acquainted with the Carpenters Union, and they put on training programs for some of their students. He's already talked to them. Here's a project. Could you come in and make this thing safe? We've got to get some steps or at least steps and maybe a ramp to get up in there. But those are things we volunteer to try to get donated. I've already spoken briefly with the Burlington Northern Credit Union. They're very excited to hear that we want to do something there. Keep us posted, so I think there's a source of revenue there. I think, to me, the biggest money issue is the windows. Every window I've looked at is broken. Okay. So, and that's that double safety glass, kind of like a windshield with the plastic in the middle. So it's not cheap glass to replace, but certainly stuff that you want to do to maintain it. Also, I want to point out too, there's electricity not 10 feet from this this caboose. Electricity is real easy, and then I don't know what all zoning or the planning department would say to about access and stuff like that. But anyway, to answer your question, yes, we're open-minded to all of that.
How would the material be stored and displayed? And it's kind of a strange shaped structure for that type of a thing. How would that be? Have you got any ideas about?
Yeah, we do have some ideas, some rough ideas. When you take out the cupboards or whatever, for lack of a better word, or also the bathroom, we don't need that in there. And it'll open it up to about 8 feet wide, and by using storage spaces along the wall, we can use it for display of historical artifacts on occasion. I think we've got security to worry about. What are you going to put in there that nothing too valuable? But I would see that we would be able to use it occasionally to have like a show and tell for historical items. Bring them down here and let people see them. One of the projects we're working on right now is we found that we've got the whistle from the Annie Cage steamboat in a file cabinet in the next room. And nobody knows we've got it. We need to find a way to display and show those kind of objects to
So would it be a rotating display?
Yes, that's what I would envision.
Most
yes.
of your material would be kept somewhere else?
Yes.
You would bring it in,
Set it up for the day.
Would there be ability for people to sit or stand, or how would that work?
I think it would be a flow through.
They would just
Yes.
flow through?
Yeah.
With a moderator there or someone to
Well,
talk?
our historical society staff would volunteer to do that.
And then would you have it open every day of the week or just on special occasions, or?
I don't think we could do it every day.
You wouldn't have someone there
Yeah.
all the time?
But I mentioned to the mayor about maybe opening up on the day of the farmer's market when there's already people around there, and if that continues to progress. But we would publicize when it is going to be. And then I would take a page out of the book where they have the little signboard where you're showing progress so that the people can come by, hey, what have you done since last time I was here? And get people to be interested in following along.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so like, would you be relocating it, or would it stay where
No,
it's
it'd stay right where it is. Yeah.
Okay, and then, so the pictures that I see here, is that about 8 feet? I mean, am I getting a good?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like a motor home, about that size. It's 43 feet from stem to stern, but that includes the hookups on the end.
So like opening it during farmer's market, opening it at Snake Saturday Parade, maybe opening it at Swift Mile. So like maybe when there's events going on in Northtown, people can also come by there.
Sure, yeah, that's what I would envision, yeah.
Okay, and then, so you say rotating, like a rotating museum.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Historical Society currently is located in the library, is that correct?
No, we have 2 displays in the library.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So would one of those go away, or?
Ma'am?
Would one of those displays go away?
Well, I don't know what the plans are for the downstairs of the library. Some of those items are quite interesting. I don't know if you've ever looked at them. They would be items you'd want to put on display over there occasionally, too. The Carnes family takes care of it.
What I'm wondering is, would having the caboose allow you to have to need less space for the Historical Society? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you have now versus what having the caboose would help with space or.
The truth of the matter is most of what we maintain is paper documents. And I don't think you want to put them over there where there's no heat and no light. But we've got shovels where they broke ground for this building in the next room over here. You know, those stainless steel shovels or whatever they are. And we've got Chief Mackin's badges in the next room too. You know, things that we want to show people that we've not only maintained, but you get to see them because they're part of our history.
Well, some of those documents could be temporarily shown over
Yes,
there too.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Is-
not an idea that they would never
Yeah.
come out of hiding.
Right.
You could have little cases that you could bring
Right.
in and put up on the walls and so on.
And then they'd come back to say,
Photographs,
sure.
that sort of thing.
Well, I think it's interesting that back in 2004, I believe, that the city council had an ordinance that they would give the Historical Society $2,500 a year. And they, from doing a little research, they did give them, I think in 2005, $5,000 for pay for something. But since then, there's been no money transferred. We've got the ordinance that I was talking to our counsel about it, and he said, well, I'm not sure this was legal. I mean, it's legal, but it hasn't been renewed, you know. So we do know that the council in the past was interested in historical society stuff, and like I've said before, we need to take care of it, or we need to get rid of it, one of the two, you know, so.
I think it's a great idea in essence. I think that it gives the Historical Society an autonomous position. In other words, not being buried in the library, which is not a bad place because libraries and historical things go together, or in the seniors and Parks and Recs place, which might be all right too, but it's not the purpose of those places to have, but to have its own entity, its own place. This is where North Kansas City Historical Society's memoirs can be viewed at such and such a time and such. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. And the further, I think it helps our society to grow. That if people know that you're doing something with this, guess what I got in my chest? I want to donate. And that way you get more donations of interesting items.
I think it could be fleshed out somehow or other, and
And assuming council is willing to proceed, that's what we would set out to do, is try to figure out exactly what we're talking about, what kind of costs there might be, who might pay that cost. We'd bring that to you at a later time.
it should be moved forward.
I do have one more quick question. My son and I love to climb on it and jump on it and go underneath it. If it does get refurbished, would we no longer be allowed to, you know, just
Jump on it.
jump around and have fun around it?
Well, for safety, where the ladders go on the roof, the city has put plywood
No,
there.
yeah, we can't do
Can't
that,
go up
but-
on the
yeah,
roof.
yeah, yeah.
But it'd be easier because there'd be steps to take you up there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we still had to address the problem to where a permanent place for their stuff is going to be, whether it's going to be the library or the park, wherever it's going to be, we need to make sure they have a permanent place.
Right.
But this is just going to be kind of a show and tell.
Yes,
place.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, so,
But people would see it as the historical.
It gives us a face in the
Yeah,
community
gives
as
you a
well.
face.
they don't have a for-fact place.
Right.
Right.
And that's kind of why I brought up the space, because if this caboose can help with some of their space, then maybe they can stay in the library. And that was just kind of one of the things I was thinking.
But it won't be a storage place over here. I mean, it's just not enough room.
Right.
What we take in, we take out.
Right. So,
Yeah, and we're trying to get more artsy, so that would be a good thing to say we're
yeah.
kind of artsy.
I agree that, and I've talked to the library before, and maybe Rick can talk more about this, but, you know, I think that would be a good place for the Historical Society. Now, as far as storage of some other things, I know we've got room over here at City Hall. I know Parks and Rec, you know, needs almost all the space that they've got in the building there. So, you know, I think it's a good idea to address, you know, eventually here pretty soon, where we're going to have the Historical Society as a permanent home, and then these other places. But I'm in favor of this project here for the caboose. I think it's a neat idea.
I think we should move forward if we keep going off track, but I think we
Yeah.
should move forward.
Okay, you're
with this
right.
project.
True.
Moving
Forward, yeah.
Move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you all.
Number 12, City Code Amendment allowing serving of alcohol at the Parks and Recreation Center, Bill number 7243, ordinance number 9040.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. At the City Council work session on September 5th, the City Council considered Parks and Recreation Board request to change the city code to allow the serving of beer and wine to those 21 years and older for Parks and Recreation sponsored event and rental parties in the new Parks and Recreation Center that's under construction. Council directed this question be brought forward for your formal consideration, so an ordinance now has been prepared for council consideration accordingly. At this point, I'd ask Parks and Recreation Director Kelly Vitipka to come forward to make any comments.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Yes, on September 5th, we had presented multiple items about our growing Parks and Recreation Department and the excitement we have for our new facility. And one of those things would be to serve alcohol for rental parties for those 21 years and older. Presented tonight for formal council consideration is an amendment to ordinance section 9.24.010, 9.24.015, and 9.24.020 of the city code to allow for this to occur. The serving of alcohol could only be performed by city licensed vendors with a state-issued temporary caterer's permit and a city's temporary caterer's permit. And all bartenders would have to have the city-state issued serving license. Councilmember Farr at the September 5th meeting asked if this would increase the insurance for the city, which it will not, but we were advised that for any party selling of alcohol be required to provide proof of insurance and to add the city to their insurance policy for general liability and liquor liability. So tonight, the Parks and Recreation Board is requesting that the City Council pass the ordinance presented tonight that will allow for alcohol to be served to those 21 years and older in the new Parks and Recreation Center.
Zach.
Were you first?
I don't know.
Just a quick question and a comment. First of all, you know, I think we want the Parks and Rec Board and facilities to be more self-sufficient. I think this would help them with their rentals. I know that people have talked before about, you know, in competition with the other places around, but that's just capital enterprise here. Security, would there be security provided at these parties, or who would?
There would be security provided, and that would be funded through the rental parties.
For these events you're talking about, would minors be allowed in the party?
Yes.
Are minors allowed in the bars? Yeah.
Depending on the classification of the liquor license, a restaurant bar situation, minors are allowed in. In a true liquor by the drink only establishment, they are not.
Okay, I would consider this more like the first one you mentioned.
A restaurant bar type
Right.
classification.
So it's not breaking new ground by allowing minors in the party itself where alcohol has been served.
That would not be out of line with other establishments in the city that would do similar type events.
Okay. Thank you. Bill, I think. Do you have?
No, not now.
Do you have?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think the trial run with the park went well so far. I mean, we had some rules set up, and you had the barriers, and I think everyone maintained that, and nothing ever got out of control at those events, so I'm good with moving this forward.
I was kind of under the impression that we had discussed almost all of this last time, even with the chief of police, and found it to be okay, and then we were just supposed to come back and give our final yay or nay on it.
I think that was in the park itself, not the building.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not clear to me security will be provided at each and every event.
Correct.
Who's going to provide the security?
Right now, it would be Clay County Sheriff's Department or private security.
Thank you.
Sorry, Tom.
And the security is part of the ordinance change. It is in the ordinance that says that security will be provided. Because if not, there's no teeth to it, and they can just walk in and do whatever they want.
Double checking. We're double checking.
I didn't hear the question.
Is it written in the ordinance that security is to be provided?
Otherwise, the ordinance doesn't have any
Good
teeth.
point.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I do not believe that that language is in the ordinance. I do not have a copy of it in front of me, but having looked at it in the past, the security provision that Councilman Farr is referencing is in the agreement that each individual would sign when they leased the venue. That's the agreement. The documents that we saw for the beer gardens, when they did the beer gardens, that was part of the language in that was set out by the Parks and Recreation Board, if I recall correctly.
Correct, yes, it is in the agreement for the rental parties that they would provide the off-duty security at their expense.
Right.
But if it's in the agreement, and it should also be in the ordinance, and it would be cleaner. This is not such a clean, it needs to be cleaned up.
Is that something easy to add? to
If
the
that's
ordinance?
something that the council would like, we absolutely will put that in the ordinance.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
But just to make
Sure,
sure
just-
it
yeah,
cover
that's
all
fine.
bases.
that's just good, but yeah, that's good.
Could I suggest that maybe we, if we decide to do this, grant it for a year, and let's take a look at it, and come back a year from now, and we'd have some experience, and
I'll let City Councilor speak to that. What we're talking about, I mean, can you make a code change that only lasts for a year, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure, they can make this ordinance to run for a given time if that's your desire. That's up to you folks.
You know, we would have the ability to change it at any time we wanted to. We could change it 2 days after what was issued.
That is also true, absolutely.
Yeah, so you have to run it for any period of time.
Well, that's pretty unusual. Usually it doesn't happen.
No, but it could. It's theoretically possible to do that.
Rain tomorrow, too.
but I think if we had a year to look at it, and then bring it back up a year from now, we'd have some experience and everything else. We could make a lot better decision.
I would agree, though. I think it kind of muddies it down a little bit. I mean, if we have the ability to undo it anyways ourselves, why add more language and just keep building an expiration date into it?
I don't see any reason to put an expiration date to it.
I mean, we could just agree now to come back
'Cause it might
here
be-
and look at it again.
Sure, we could.
At the
yeah,
end of
if
the
you tell-
summer-
If you
at the
tell
end
us
of the
to bring
summer,
it,
you
if you
might
tell us
see
to
it-
bring it back to you for reconsideration in a year, that's what we do.
There you go.
So are you going to bring back we're not going to vote on this ordinance now, then you're going to bring it back with the new language added? for
Yes, it
security?
sounds like you'd like to have that added, so we would defer that item tonight and bring it to you at your next meeting with additional provisions for security.
Okay, doesn't the party that wants to have the party in the building or in the park have to sign, don't they have to sign that agreement?
Yes.
With the Parks and Rec, which the
Yes.
agreement itself says that they have to have?
Correct.
So we're just saying it twice in two different places, is that?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, sounds like we'll work with Mr. Barzee,
Yes.
and we'll bring that back to you hopefully at the next
We'll
meeting.
bring the
If we're in
revised
favor,
ordinance
just
back
putting
to
it
you.
in there.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Number 13, change order number 5, Parks and Recreation Center roof structure.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the building official, David Harris.
Mayor and Council, the Park and Recreation building that's currently under construction has a multipurpose room that can be divided into 2 smaller rooms by closing an operable partition. Our contractor, Larison Construction, found that they could not construct the supports for that operable partition using the construction design documents. The project designer, Insight Design, was consulted, and their engineers, which is Toth and Associates out of Springfield, Missouri, provided revisions, adding structural details to the design. Larison Construction submitted a quote and additional material in the work, and Staff finds this a reasonable quote. Therefore, this change order number 5, has been prepared in the amount of $7,764.07 for the cost to complete the work. Larison Construction at the time was currently constructing the roof joists and doing the work, so we consulted with the mayor and asked the authority to move forward on this project.
Rick? It seems to me like the architects ought to be responsible for this.
Absolutely.
I mean, and when you read it, they messed up on saying something could support something and it can't do it. I mean, did anybody think about going back to the architects on this?
We
tried
have
that?
discussed it, and the city councilor can discuss the legalities further. What the issue is on these change orders is, even though they did make it, there was something they should have considered, is the fact that they did not originally consider it costing additional money or money that would have had to have been spent in the first place. If the conclusion is the latter, then it makes it very difficult to go against the architect. That's been the case on a number of the change orders that we have brought to you for this project. But that's my understanding of the contract law on a matter such as this. And so in this case, we did discuss it, and we don't believe that the mistake has cost additional amount. It's simply an amount that should have been originally considered as part of the project cost.
And I'm not against fixing it, especially since we don't want the mayor to have to do this out of his own pocket. But
It does make sense, kind of.
but you know, that somebody's made a lot of mistakes in this. And, I mean, the price doubled, I think.
Well, our thought is that again, that amount should have been included in the original cost, but it's not additional cost that because of the error.
Okay.
I was just going to echo Rick's comments, and thank you for explaining that, but I am extremely disappointed in this architecture firm that is building this building. And that's no slight against the Parks Board at all. I'm extremely disappointed in the way that they've conducted their business.
Well, the next item is the parking lot. It's basically the same thing.
Right.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't know who moved to approve?
Me and then he, okay.
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 Thank you. No one opposed it correctly?
No.
Correct, right? Okay. Number 14, change order number 6, Parks and Recreation Center parking lot.
I'll call Mr. Harris.
This change order is to replace concrete curb at low areas in the parking lot of the Park and Recreation construction site. On October 23rd, Larison Construction began repaving the existing lot. They found there were areas, approximately 135 linear feet of existing curb that once you correct and install the new pavement, that those areas would be too low to drain. On October 24th, Larison Construction provided proposals for 2 options. One option was to replace 58 linear feet that was on the west side of the parking lot, with the understanding that the other area in the future would have to be addressed. Option 2 was to remove and replace all areas that were determined that were low, since they were already underway in doing that work. Staff evaluated the options and determined option 2 was the best alternative. This change order is in the amount of $7,885.80 for the cost to remove and replace approximately 135 linear feet. Since the work was being done, we again went to the mayor and asked the mayor to authorize the contractor to proceed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Number 15, YMCA renovation project, change order number 3, epoxy coating, fitness flooring.
Eric?
Thanks, sir. I'll call Mr. Harris.
This change order is for the YMCA Community Center's renovation project. The YMCA is constructing a new 4,481 square feet concrete fitness floor on the second floor. There's a special flooring overlay that is to be installed on top of the concrete floor. The manufacturer requires to provide a warranty that before they can install the special floor, that the concrete be below 85% relative humidity. The concrete was tested by an independent testing company on October 20th and October 30th, and they found that the humidity of the concrete is staying around 96% or averaging around 96%. Consultants that we talked to and discussed the issue with indicate that it's probably because the building's relative humidity that this is happening, and that the humidity of the concrete may not drop for many months or at all. PGAV, which is the designer and Herner Construction Company, discussed the options of the flooring, and they're recommending to put in an epoxy floor coating over a plywood subfloor base. Therefore, this request is to change. This request is for change order number 3 in the amount of $21,407.66.
Will eventually that concrete dry out and they go back and redo it, or is that going to be fix it now and that's going to be the way it is now on?
The issue is the bonding of the new floor to the concrete. So once that happens, I think it changes together. It's bonded together as one. So it may go down, but also the flooring on top of it will change too.
In other words, we won't have to go back and do the concrete after it dries out.
That's correct.
So this pretty well, I'm working it in my head, right? I use pour concrete as the second job. But this will seal the concrete and seal the moisture down? Because usually it dries from down to up.
That's correct. Yeah. But in order for it to bond, it needed to be at that humidity level for it to bond. And so once it sets up, that is correct, that it seals it.
Thank you.
Okay, so the way I'm reading it, the epoxy coating is going over a plywood subfloor that's going to be installed.
Correct.
So the epoxy's not going over the cement.
That,
The floor's going, then the epoxy.
the plywood is going over the concrete, and then the epoxy, and then the whole thing is going to seal together, and so it changes together.
So it's going to then become below 85% relative humidity in the concrete. So we can then get the warranty? Is that correct?
In order to put the flooring directly onto the concrete floor has to be around 85% humidity.
Which it's not now.
Which is not now. And so the solution is to put a cap on it, which you would put a plywood down over it, and then the epoxy over that, which will seal the whole thing. And humidity-wise, it acts as one.
Okay, so that once we put that subfloor and epoxy on, that's going to compensate for the high moisture rates of the concrete, which we will then for sure then be allowed to have a warranty for the floor.
That's correct.
Got
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Want to go over that again, Dave?
Sorry, I was confused.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, amendment to the number of on-street run-walk events allowed each year, resolution number 17-074.
Sir, may I call on the Police Chief Steve Beamer?
Okay, on 6,
Yes, sir. Item 16.
okay, all right.
Chief?
Thank you, sir. In May of 2015, the City Council enacted a resolution that limited the number of run-walk events that could occur on the public streets of our city. And that was done at the request of the police department because we were starting to see a lot of requests come in to hold these events in our city. And we started to recognize that lots of these events can create some real stress and strain, not only on the resources of the police department, but the community and the citizens that live here trying to maneuver through the city during these events. And so at that point in time, we recommended a limit of 4 per calendar year within the city, and that's what the council acted on and enacted. Well, last year, we came to you with a request to extend that number to 5 with the Brandon Russell flash dash that occurred after Dr. Steve Russell's son died in I believe it was the half marathon in Kansas City last year. Major Kemet Freeman from our department has been in touch with all the run organizers that we had in this year. The one that hasn't occurred yet is the Christmas Light 5K, but all groups have expressed an interest in coming back in 2018. The organizers of these events have been responsible. They've been good to work with. And so what we're doing is coming to council tonight and asking you to adopt a resolution that will expand the number of events from 4 to 5 for 2018 and future years.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
17.
Number 17, renewal of employee health insurance package, bill number 7244, ordinance number 9041.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Human Resources Manager, Jan Gall.
Good evening, everyone. Again, this year we had a nice renewal of our employee health insurance. We're going to see a 1.4% increase. That is all due 100% to fees connected with the Affordable Care Act, so we cannot get around that. And that's really it. All of the benefits are going to stay the same, except for an increase in the deductible on the HSA plan. That also is due to a government requirement from the IRS.
Kudos to Lockton for
Yes.
getting us a good rate.
Yes, they're a great broker for us.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
An ordinance adopting and approving addendum to group contract maximum refund account, together with the A, benefit and rate confirmation for the city's Preferred Care Blue PPO plan, B, benefit and rate confirmation for the city's Personal Blue PPO plan, and C, benefit and rate confirmation for the city's Blue Saver PPO plan, effective January 1st, 2018, with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City regarding medical insurance benefits for the employees of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7244 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9041.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance adopting and approving addendum to group contract maximum refund account, together with the A, benefit and rate confirmation for the city's Preferred Care Blue PPO plan, B, benefit and rate confirmation for the city's Personal Blue PPO plan, and C, benefit and rate confirmation for the city's Blue Saver PPO plan, effective January 1st, 2018, with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City regarding medical insurance benefits for the employees of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri. Number 18, North Kansas City Hospital Wellness Services Agreement, Resolution Number 17073.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on Ms. Gall.
In 2013, we joined with Cerner and the hospital to create an employee wellness program that was a little bit more sophisticated than the program we'd had in the past. It's been a good relationship, but we've had a few issues with the Cerner portal. The main reason is that it is not a customized portal for our city. We share this portal with a lot of different companies, so we don't have any flexibility to design it the way we'd like. So this year, the hospital has come up with a plan that they now want to be in the wellness portal business. I've got Erica from the hospital here who might be able to explain that a little bit better than I can. But what we'd like to do is the wellness committees met with Erica and members of that will provide the portal WellRight. And we are recommending that we now go from Cerner and use the hospital's portal. We will be the pilot program for them. As a result, we will not have any fees to pay to the hospital for the first year. We will still be responsible for paying Cerner a monthly fee until the end of September next year. This is because we did not have time to cancel our contract 120 days out, so we have to continue to pay them. But if you'd like, Erica can speak with any questions you might have regarding the new wellness program.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Number 19, Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE Program, Bill Number 7246, Ordinance Number 9043.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on Community Development Director Sarah Copeland.
Good evening. The Property Assessed Clean Energy Program allows for financing assistance for energy efficient or renewable energy improvements that are then paid for via property assessments. The city belongs to the Missouri Clean Energy District, but cities can join more than one clean energy district, and the Show Me PACE Clean Energy District has approached us to ask us to join theirs as well. Jan Schumacher of Show Me PACE presented an overview of this program to you all at your last council meeting, and you directed us to prepare an ordinance to authorize the city to join the Show Me PACE District, which is before you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
First reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance to enable North Kansas City, Missouri to join Show Me PACE pursuant to sections 67.2800 to 67.2835 RSMO, the Property Assessment Clean Energy Act, and stating the terms under which the city will conduct activities as a member of such district.
I move that bill number 7246 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9043.
Second. Call roll.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stephan?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance to enable North Kansas City, Missouri to join Show Me PACE pursuant to section 67.2800 to 67.2835 RSMO, the Property Assessment Clean Energy Act, and stating the terms under which the city will conduct activities as a member of such district. Okay. Number 20, 2018 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement, Resolution Number 17-075.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Public Works Director Pat Hopper.
Thank you. The city's participation in Mid-America Regional Council's Household Hazardous Waste Program allows residents to properly dispose of items such as unused paint, household cleaners, motor oil, pesticides, and similar products. Participation in the program allows residents to dispose of their household hazardous waste in two ways. They can take their materials to the permanent disposal site across the Shoto Bridge on Doremus Avenue in Kansas City, or they can participate in the annual mobile household hazardous waste collection event, which is held in Gladstone every year. North Kansas City's cost for participation this year is $4,594.80, which is based on a per capita rate of $1.05 and is 1 cent more per capita than last year. A resolution has been prepared for approval to go into the 2018 Household Hazardous Waste Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 21, budget amendment, YMCA renovation project.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. In the fiscal year 2017 budget, the City Council approved $2,500,000 to renovate the city-owned YMCA facility. And that project is proceeding as planned, and it's planned to end at the end of this calendar year. At the end of the fiscal year, $1,928,100 have been spent or encumbered. So it's necessary now that we're into a new fiscal year to amend the fiscal year 2018 budget to appropriate the remaining $571,900 in the project. So we do have a resolution before you. So we're not adding any more money to the project. We're just appropriating the remainder of the funds that are necessary to complete the project.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Number 22, approving accounts due and payable by the city through November 3rd, 2017. Bill number 7247, ordinance number 9044.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through November 3rd, 2017.
I move that bill number 7247 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9044.
Second.
Call roll.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Stefan?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through November 3rd, 2017.
Mr. Eric?
Thank you, sir. There are a couple of reports in your council packet. One, upcoming city items of note. YMCA monthly financial support for the month of September. The quarterly financial report for the city is also in your packet. Finance Manager Shirley Land is here if you had any questions about that. Seeing none, I believe if you are intending to attend our annual dinner with the North Kansas City Hospital Board of Trustees, which is scheduled for Monday, November 27th at 5:30 p.m. They're needing a head count, so if you could please let Crystal Doss know either tonight or as soon as possible whether you'll be attending that so that she can get the head count to the hospital.
Raise your hand. You going?
Heck yeah, I'm going. You need emails on that, Crystal, or just?
No, I can just take it.
Okay.
Yeah, Fred's going.
We got good food.
I think of everybody. Anita, are you or Bryant going?
I'll let you know.
I'll be at work.
Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to call on Mr. Hopper just to provide an update. As you know, we began a new contract with a new trash hauler on November 1st. Been going reasonably well. The one thought that we knew was going to be a little bit of a hurdle has been distribution of trash and recycling carts. And I'd like to ask Mr. Hopper to give you an update on where we are at the moment.
Thank you. Last week, 65-gallon trash and 65-gallon recycling carts were distributed to all residents that are eligible for trash collection. On Saturday, Jim's Disposal distributed blue 45-gallon recycling carts to 75 residents that requested smaller carts. The 65-gallon carts that they had received for recycling we began to pick them up today and will continue tomorrow. There were 78 residents who requested small trash carts, but they received the 65-gallon trash carts originally. They will receive a blue 45-gallon cart identical to the recycling bins, but they'll have a black lid on top to distinguish
trash from recycling. Jim's Disposal has ordered the black lids and expects the shipment will be within a couple weeks. And once it is, their crews will follow a recycling truck, and as they empty it, they're going to replace the lids to the others. So that's pretty much the distribution aspect of this. I do believe that we have had only one complaint about trash pickup and recycling and yard waste and bulky waste, so that is off to a good start.
That concludes staff comments, sir.
Okay. Mr. Rick?
Oh, I get to be first. We had a real nice veteran ceremony this past weekend. I appreciate I think the library took the forefront on that. The fire department and the police department was there. It was a nice event, and I'll have to say, they had youth football going on, and there was no microphone interruptions. They was requested not to, and they did. It was really nice of them. The new trash service, I only received one complaint, and you got that by email, because I got it by email with your, I seen you got it too, at throwing the bins around after they're empty. And I guess it happened. It didn't happen on my block. They were all upright on my block, but one might have fell over. I don't know. I jumped the gun and called city because I watched them dump my recycles in the back of the truck, and I thought, they're dumping everything together. There's two trucks, two separate trucks, I found out. Because I went out, Chris told me, and I called up here, and I went out and looked at my trash bin itself, and the trash was still in it, and the recycle was empty. So I didn't I wasn't mad about it. I just said, hey, you know. But for anybody that watches them out there, there's going to be two separate trucks, one for recycle, and they are dumping them in the back, but it's all recycle. I didn't see any problems with like I said, the way it worked today. There is, I don't know, it's really none of our business maybe, I don't know, but the house that the school bought on the corner of 23rd, they got two and they're sitting in the city right away. You know, somebody's going to steal them or do something, and either need to be put in the yard or let the trash company pick them up. Nobody's living there. I don't think the school's going to rent it out.
We'll do something about that.
But, you know, just for the, you know, yeah, I wrote down something down there. I don't even know what I meant by it. But 70%, whatever that meant. Oh, yeah, I was going to, Zach just told me, in case you're interested, we didn't get the vote. The airport thing's passing by 70%.
Figured.
So, I don't know it's over, but it's leading.
91% of the.
91% of the votes are in, and it's passing by 70%. So whether you liked it or not, I just throw it in there. I guess if you're not a flyer, you're not going to have to pay nothing anyway.
So they say.
Yeah, so they say. But I thought I'd pass that on to you, and that's all I got.
No, I don't have much. Thursday at 9:45 is ribbon cutting ceremony for roadies. And then Mayor's Christmas tree lighting is 6 o'clock here at City Hall on November 17th. And the next day, the 18th, is when they're at 1 o'clock to 2:30 is at the Wagon Trail Dog Park. It'd be the Chris Kringle canine activity. That's all I have.
None tonight, sir.
Nothing.
Oh, I missed the last meeting, so I have several things to say. At the Mayor's Christmas tree, Briarcliff Elementary Choir is going to be singing. My little guy is going to be in that. On Halloween here in Northtown, there were several events that we got to enjoy. We had pumpkin painting at Nuts and Bolts, Aunt Mary's Cookies. We got to decorate some cookies. Mackin Park, the Parks Rec party, that was amazing. Chicken and Pickle had a party for the kids. And then Disciples of Gaming had a virtual reality of haunted houses that you could go to. I just wanted to say, North Kansas City is a great place to have little ones, and celebrating Halloween is so much fun here. Went to a North Kansas City Now meeting this week, and I wanted just to say how proud I am of the small businesses here in Northtown. They are cross-promoting each other, and it is so awesome to see them working together. And then I wanted to say congratulations to Ronald Knight, Mike and Mike Schumacher. And then I love my new trash bin and recycle bin, and that is it.
Oh, I just beat that. Let's talk about APOX and the CMed and get back in. No, I do think that the Veterans Service was really nice. I'm a little bit concerned that we don't have enough people to attend that thing. We've got more veterans here in North Kansas City than we should have more people down there at that Veterans Service. And, of course, Chief Beamer was his usual loquacious self, and everybody stood up and applauded. No, they didn't. But he did give a great arousing speech, and I appreciated that. And that lady that was a retired sergeant from the Army did an excellent job. She was just really good. I appreciated that. If we could just figure out a way to get more vets down there and make it a little more of a, and not anything on the negative side too much, but the band did not turn me on very much. I think maybe we could look around and find some people that could do a little bit better job in the musical department in that end. But other than that, it was a wonderful time, wonderful morning. So that's all I have.
I'll make it brief here. Echo the comments about the Veterans Ceremony. I enjoyed it. Kudos to the Parks and Recreation for the Halloween party at Mackin Park. I got one of the best volunteer jobs ever this time. Riding the hayride, make sure nobody falls out the back. I begged them to let me drive the tractor, but they would not let me do it. So probably smart on their part, but good job. I really enjoy that event all the time. So enjoyed that. I want to give kudos to Jim's Trash Service. Some tree company was cutting a big tree on 1000 block East 24th. The road was blocked off. That 1000 block was blocked off. I don't know how they got in there and got the trash, but they did. They got the recycling and the trash. I did notice several containers on my block that were upside down, though. I think they put them there that way just so that they know that they've already passed by for the recycling, but I don't know if we can, ask them why they do that or if they plan on continuing doing that. I guess Rick said it didn't happen on his block, so, or maybe that was just because the street was closed. I have no idea. So maybe, Pat, if you could kind of find out on that. Let's see. You're talking about Parks and Recs, and I already said kudos to Lockton, so that's it.
Well, here again, everything's been said. I don't have anything.
Item 26, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0211.
So moved. Second.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl? Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yep.